Hey, Kathy.
How are you?
Well, I have something to tell you.
Okay.
It's my birthday.
Get out.
Yeah, it
Happy
is.
birthday. Why are you working on your birthday? Oh my
Well,
gosh.
because I'm doing things I love on my birthday. But so here's the thing, this is the Alberta Women's Independence Network, where we talk to women in
Yeah.
Alberta um, about Alberta independence and why they support it. And so we're going to talk about, we're going to digress just for a minute about other womanly things. So
Okay.
my mom died at 40.
Yeah.
You lost your mom early.
Yeah.
I just lost my sister 2 weeks ago at 52.
Yeah.
I will never be ashamed to say my age because, as far as I'm concerned, every moment is an absolute gift. Absolute gift. So
Amen.
today I turned 54.
Nice.
Yes. Yes. Very,
Nice.
very proud of that. And I've had 54 years of gift from God because
Amen.
time is just that amazing gift, right? So, yeah, I am so excited to be here and
That's
having
cool.
a fabulous birthday. So, there we
Good.
go.
You know what? What you say, I can really resonate with that because my mom passed away when she was 29.
There you
And
go.
so when I hit 30, it was kind of this, it was this back and forth. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I'm 30. I don't know what I think about this. But at the same time, I made it longer than mom. I did. Right. Like it was, yeah. So I hear what
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
saying.
Like I'm
Definitely.
the oldest in my family, and so on. And I have my mom had 9 children, so she had 4 girls and 5 boys. So for my 40th birthday, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
she passed 40, my 40th birthday, my sisters and I, we all went up to, oh, where were we? Just outside of Banff. Anyways, had a fabulous time together, just
Mm,
celebrating celebrating that fact, and just being glad that there is life beyond 40 for us. There's life beyond
absolutely.
30 for you. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
50 is it. I'm 52 now, and this is the decade. This is like, I'm loving it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
loving it. It is awesome. Well, I hope that for your birthday you get a new hot water tank.
Oh,
So you can
yes, we need a new hot water tank. My poor husband. If you hear banging in the background, it's my poor husband trying to fix the plumbing. So,
Yeah. Yeah, we've got our first world problems going on today.
yep, yep. We're
Yeah.
we're good. We're good
Yeah.
though. Well, and you
Yeah.
know what? Let's okay, so let's just mention that we are doing this in conjunction with the Alberta Nation directory. So
Mm-hmm.
albertanation.com, if you want to know anything about anything to do with Alberta independence, who's who, recent articles that have come out, what else? Videos, signing events, everything. The one woman show behind the Alberta Nation Directory is just working her butt off to make sure that everything is updated. So
Yeah.
if you want to know where anything is, that's where you go. And we are lucky to be doing this in conjunction with her. So
Absolutely.
visit that. And we have some fun guests today.
I'm excited. I'm always excited because I love talking to ladies across the province to see, who are you? What makes you tick? What's going on in your world? How come you're here? Why independence? Because we hear this all the time, like, where are the women? Where are the women? So we're like, okay, we'll show you where they are. We know we're here. We're gonna now show you. Then the other thing we hear is, where are the youth? Where are the youth?
Mhm.
Always, where are the youth? And I can tell you, I have been to so many signing events, and they're there. They're there, and it has not mattered what part of the province I'm in. I've been all the way from the north to the south, to the east to the west, and they're there. We
Yeah.
just don't always see people online, and it's been outstanding. It's been young couples. Two of my favorite moments, if I can just share, Fox Creek. Fox Creek, of all places, this truckload of work boys come in. They're younger than my sons, and my youngest is turning 30 this year, right? Younger than my boys, come in filthy from head to toe, work boots on, opening the door for me, and like just being gentlemen. Like mama and papa did a great job, right? Coming in and signing that petition. I'm like, yep, that's cool. And I wanted to take a picture of them, but I think they'd be looking at this old woman like, no, I don't think so. That's not gonna happen. So I didn't ask them, even though I wanted to. And then in Calgary was another blessing. I'm sitting there waiting to take signatures in Calgary, and all of a sudden I'm in the back. Like they had rows of us there, right? There was 150 of volunteers
Oh, right.
taking, yeah, like lots of us there. And so I'm way in the back. It's like being in school all over again. And so that's fine. But then all of a sudden, this wave of cheering from the front rows all the way to the back coming, we're all looking like, who just walked in, thinking maybe it was Mitch or, somebody like that we would be cheering. No, it was this young family, and dad had the big flag on his shoulder that he's carrying. Mom's got a little one, and then there's 3 or 4 littles. I couldn't see completely, but there was at least 3, perhaps 4 littles, 2 of them in a wagon, all with their little flags, little Alberta flags coming so mom and dad could sign the petition. I'm bawling. I'm like, that's it.
No doubt.
I'm a mess. It was beautiful. Just beautiful.
And this is why we're doing this.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what we keep telling people. When you're going, if you choose to go and participate in this event that we're not allowed to advertise now, but we can just talk about it. If you choose to go participate in this event going on across the province, bring the family.
Yes.
Because this is a historic moment, and these little kids need to know and remember that my mommy and daddy did this, my grandma did this, my auntie and uncle did this, that like make it an event. Make it an event. It's a big deal. And how many people understand that when they come and you just see the looks on their faces that I just did this. I just contributed.
Absolutely.
Oh, we had so much fun, right? And then we're going through the questions and, are you a Canadian citizen? And they say, yep. And I go, for now. And they go, got it, right? Anyway, I could brag all day about all the things going on, but that's not why we're here. We're here to listen to other people brag. And back to where are the youth? You connected with 2 like outstanding powerhouses that are part of this movement. And tell us what you know about them before we bring them on.
Honestly, I don't know a lot. I saw these cute girls on X, and I went and looked at some of their videos, and I'm like, okay, they are solid. They know what they're talking about. Yeah. And I want to know how they got here. So let's bring on Madison and MayCee Holmes.
Hi.
Hey, ladies.
Hi. This is the family you're alluding to.
Yeah, we take a photo of them.
Oh.
We're gonna make you bigger. I want to be able to see that. Hang on one second.
We actually took a photo of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I sent.
So how many kids were there? How many little
1,
ones?
2, 3, 4 that look under the age of 8.
Yeah.
Aww.
And then 1, 2. Oh wait, I forgot she's holding a baby, so that's 5. And then there's another 4 that look about mid.
So 9 kids.
Yeah, 9 kids.
Wow.
Just 9
kids. Awesome.
Yep.
Wow.
Incredible. That was beautiful. So do you were sent, this family? Are they your family?
No,
we're close. We're at 7, not 9 or 10.
Okay.
I went to go take a photo of them because we were doing merch at that rally, the Big Road, Big House, Big Four. Thank you. And then so we were doing merch, and then my kind of like boss was like, "Hey, go hand out I guess buttons to people." And so then I saw this family, and I gave all of them buttons. I was like, "Can I just like take a photo of you? Because that's like you're amazing."
Yeah. So they really were their own parade.
Yeah. No, it's. Oh, minor leg.
There we go. You're back again.
Okay, good.
You're back in. Well, that's cool. That's cool. I didn't realize there was that many kids. Where I was sitting, I couldn't see everything. I could just do a lot of hearing and see the flags, but that was it. That's neat. So tell us how you got involved in this. What's your story?
Kind of started, well, I mean, our whole family before COVID, we were the typical, hockey
every time, like
McDonald's every day.
McDonald's, yeah.
Yeah, me and MayCee grew up in normal high school. Like we were actually in Calgary Girls School, the Calgary Girls Charter School here in Calgary, because it supposedly had a good fine arts program, and that's kind of where me and MayCee were passionate. But otherwise, we went through the normal school curriculum. We got propagandized by the normals, the media. It wasn't until COVID that our whole family started to go, whoa, what's going on? Because we listened to people like Jordan Peterson. Our whole family has been very interested in psychology. Our dad always grew up saying, when he dropped us off for school, love a lemming, don't be a lemming, implying that, there's these common patterns of society and we can just blindly follow along with the patterns, but try not to. If you can notice them, it doesn't make you better than other people, it just makes you a bit more aware. And so kind of growing up with that, we love Jordan Peterson, the whole intellectual dark web, IDW. But when COVID happened, it expanded beyond them, because even the IDW, when COVID happened, there were members falling for the government scandal. And so it was that really transformed my family's whole perception on what do we have to pay attention to. And so we had to put down things like hockey, because trying to catch up on all of the history and our own even Canada history, we knew nothing. We didn't even we voted once every 4 years and thought we were doing our duty. That was basically our family.
Yeah.
So
we didn't necessarily subscribe to any narratives on either side, though. So we were kind of those people in the middle where we're just living our lives, not really paying attention to anything.
Yeah.
And then, as Maddie said, once every 4 years we'd vote. But then I think once we got into the intellectual dark web and even things like Brett and Heather Weinstein, when they were talking about the vaccines, that started to, I don't know if I'm lagging or not.
No, we can still hear you just fine. So you're
perfect.
good.
Yeah.
We started to go down that rabbit hole, and then it just continued to keep expanding out towards a lot of the doctors that a lot of people know of today that have been affiliated with blowing the whistle about the vaccines and such. And then that kind of just slowly but surely led up to this moment where we were like, oh, Alberta Independence is a thing. That's cool.
Yeah, it was the APP did a little town hall at Ranchman's, I think it was. And we had originally gotten involved, and this is the funny thing, because the APP movement, or the independence movement, it's nonpartisan, because it's to benefit all parties. Yeah, and a nurse from a rigger, your priorities can be fulfilled. You will have more money in your pocket to invest in whatever it is that calls your little heart after independence. But we got involved via the UCP. We heard that there was this thing called an AGM, and then you could have a voice. And so it was going to events like that said you could have politically more of a say. Then we started to learn about what a CA board is, and then it was your president, the UCP board of directors versus the government. There was all these things we were starting to learn. And
yeah, and it was mainly our dad who played a giant staple in because a lot of people, I mean, I feel like I'm about to answer a question you didn't even ask, but you might ask it, is what kind of about, I guess maybe our parents helped us to be involved, because it's not very common. And because our dad, he actually figured out what a CA board was first. He decided, can I just sit on and listen? And then they were like, well, the board's not filled. Do you want to hop on? And so he hopped on, and then he said, hey guys, there's this thing. And so me and Maddie hopped on, and then we made ourselves the VP of youth on that, because we were like, okay, we want to try and get more engagement. And then it kind of just kept on spiraling. He played a big staple in terms of he was reading all the books. That man's ability to consume information is insane. And then he listens to 5 podcasts in a day, and you're like, oh my gosh. So he just he kept on taking it in. And I don't know, it was just inspiring to see. And we were like, well, I don't really, a bit of FOMO where it's I don't want to be left behind here on you knowing all of this information. So then we started consuming it ourselves, and that's when we kind of got into our podcasting, because we were like, well, we gotta do something with this knowledge. It's not enough just to consume it for the sake of consuming it. It's I feel like it should be shared, and it also should be talked about and expanded upon. So that's kind of where we got into this.
That's an interesting incentive that you brought up, MayCee, the FOMO, because that definitely young kids, and this is something that goes I think generally into youth, but you always look for idols, people that you can look up to and you can mimic. And as a young woman, I didn't have a lot of women figures to look up to, so I just looked up to my dad.
Yep.
He was,
Actually,
know,
yeah.
the thing about men that's so lovely as contrasting to women is that they're consistent. You know, they don't operate on a 28 to 30 day cycle like we do. And so,
but they definitely can get their periods some days. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Some days.
Gonna include everybody.
Yes, we're all inclusive here. No, but we looked up to him, and so there was that aspect of just wanting to demonstrate that consistency and solid character that our dad did on the rigs. But also for me, I did have some friends from Ontario. I had online friends, and they were a bit more, when we were into the whole IDW thing and Jordan Peterson, that naturally came with the Trump versus Biden and the Trump and Orange Man Bad. And a lot of my friends were a bit more against Trump. But I was listening to people like Larry Elder and who talked about Trump and his policies being way more friendly to things like Black Lives Matter than even Barack Obama. And so I'm learning about those things. And so I was incentivized to also do the podcast and the research, because I was constantly kind of playing tug of war with my friends and trying to do it in a respectful manner, because obviously, you know, we're friends and we connect and all this, but there were some heated arguments and they had questions and they had points of contention. And I thought, gosh, I don't know. Even Greta Thunberg, I had a friend who loved Greta Thunberg, thought she was so admirable to be a young woman fighting for her values, and something just felt really wrong in my gut, and I thought I need to dig into why this is not okay. And so then you read books like Michael Schellenberg, who talks about apocalypse never, and he's like, okay, so this is why the climate change thing might not be what you think it is. And so it was just this constant push-pull dynamic, so you could just have conversations with your friends and respectfully agree to disagree.
Oh, I love that. And I love, like, as you guys are talking, it all comes down to a willingness to learn. Right?
Yes.
Yep.
And prioritizing that in your life, like taking the time to listen to the podcast, to read the books, to look into the issues. I had an experience this last week with two different friends online, about my age and also older, where, you know, we finally started to talk about, like, why do I want Alberta independence? Why am I doing this? And they know more the Forever Canada crowd. And both conversations, you can get to a certain point, but as soon as you start to talk about the actual solid facts, the provable, you know what? You can go to the government website and you can see this yourself. It's not coming from me. It's our own government admits to this or shows this or whatever. They shut it down immediately and immediately switch to the emotional side of, I've always been a Canadian. I will be a Canadian forever. I don't want to discuss that. And I find that so disheartening. For one, they are cheating themselves of the opportunity to learn. And if you want to be a part of the Forever Canada crowd, that's fine. But you should be able to back it up with knowledge and facts and logic, not just straight raw emotion. And so when I hear you guys talking about, this process that you have taken in learning and opening up your minds and your family and your father, that is so encouraging. I just love it.
Well, one, happy birthday.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah. And two, it actually reminds me a little bit of, I listened to the interview that you guys did with Nicole. And then I also listened to the one that you just did with Sean Newman, which was a fantastic podcast. And Kathy, you were saying something that because I grew up looking at my dad as a figure to, you know, aspire to, I do take for granted the everyday operations of women and that very emotional state. And even to just paint the dichotomy of the, you know, the facts versus the emotions, I feel like that is something that the powers that ought not be have done on purpose to paint, because the conservatives now are painted as the factual objective party, and then NDP or liberals, they are the emotional frenzies. And I think that is a terrible way to paint that divide initially. How are you going to build a bridge that way? Because even the conservatives can get there was actually an example. There was an event where there was the CA Lockheed put on a town hall, and it was called Injection of Truth. And it was on all of the vaccines, and a bunch of doctors came in to talk about them, or I should say the gene therapies. And afterwards, all the doctors went to the university because Timothy Caulfield, I think is his name, he is in the universities, and he's an expert on misinformation, according to him. We just won't look at it as the pocketbooks and who pays them, but aside from that. And so the doctors wanted to go to present this challenge and to present the contradictions that people, even the people that aren't as far into their research, they have in the back of their mind. They know there's contradictions, but they're just not there to bring them forth yet. And the doctors wanted to do this in the most respectful manner that they could, because there were genuine fans of Timothy there. And unfortunately, and I can totally understand where these women were coming from, because they know children and family who have been hurt by these gene therapies. So they are feeling indignant, and they are completely justified so. But because they know they're justified, they attacked him in the middle of the presentation verbally. And that turned any potential about the rest of the room listening to the doctors and getting the contradictions, it was gone, because you just brought up this big fire in the room, and then the wall was built. And so that dichotomy of and you, Kathy, on the Sean Newman podcast, we're talking about some of the concerns that women initially have, what immediately affects my children, my grandchildren, and that's painting that picture. I was like, oh, okay, so that makes sense for your guys' approach to connect with women more, because that would be the main concern. And I think that's also a flaw of, even me and MayCee, partly why we may not connect with the middle ground at our age as much, is because we've we spend so much time doing the research so we can answer the questions when they arise. But a lot of people take time for granted, and I guess when you're always filling it, as me and my whole family do, and you guys as well, when you got your hands in so many pies, the people in the middle ground, they're not filling their time with every little event going on. They have time to breathe and just think about whatever personal, like Kathy, you said in the intro, the first world problems, all of those little mountains, to them, they're big mountains, and it's their first world problems, because they don't spend their time looking at everybody else's problems and the world problems and what's going on in the United States or in Venezuela. And so that's something that we too have to constantly keep in mind, so we can meet that connection on their personal basis, because that's what they're thinking of. Their time isn't filled like ours. And so we have to, funnily enough, take the time to be in their time. That way we can actually make the connection and build the bridge and fill the gap where clearly they haven't yet made the effort.
Madison, that is beautifully said. That is beautifully said. And there's nothing to add to that. So then, if we're going to expand on that thought, would it be right to say that even within the generations, it's how do we, like where Angela and I are the Gen Xers, right? So the Gen Xers then are thinking about different things. But yet, how do we get past those first world problems that our generation has, so that we can get these ladies to understand, and the guys too, but our focus has been predominantly ladies, to see the benefits of Alberta independence? And then with your guys' generation, is it a different message there again? Because there's different thoughts, there's different concerns, right? And then it's identifying those thoughts and those concerns, so that we're speaking directly to the hearts of the gals that are your age, not the gals that are our age. We've got different things going on.
It's true. So you couldn't use the grandchildren for, I mean, me and MayCee, you could, because
you could use it on us.
You could use it on us. We're thinking about the grandchildren, down the line, but most girls our age aren't, because even having kids nowadays, a lot of women are meeting that they get to their midlife crisis 30s, and then they're like, oh shoot, I should have thought about kids sooner.
Well, actually, we have a friend that joined the movement, and she was a volunteer on the Okotoks leaderboard of the Okotoks branch for APP. And then we met her, and she was working the merch table, and I was like, whoa, you're young and you're a girl. What are you doing here? And then she said that her story was actually, she was far more leftist liberal type and like not really paying attention to anything except for just, oh, I don't know, I like Trudeau because he has nice hair. Like it was just very shallow thinking. And then she said that when she got with her now fiance, his family was rural, a big family, conservative, and he started just to, you know, pluck away at her zeitgeist. And so, but she said that the minute that I had to, I guess, we call it adult, like adulting. The minute I started adulting, she was like, oh my gosh, like I have to make payments and this stuff's expensive. Why? And then she just starts going into her own research in the APP front. And so she's seeing that, hey, things could be a lot more easier and you'd be able to afford things. And so she was like, oh shoot, this actually seems like a really good idea. And I think that for my generation, the messaging is a little bit less placated towards the, I guess, pro-Canada narrative, because I'm sure you guys have probably faced a lot of people where, like, as you said, Kathy, it's like they're very still attached emotionally, or Angela, sorry, they're attached emotionally to Canada. So they're like, I can listen to all your facts all day long, but I still don't want to leave because of X, Y, and Z, because they have history under their belt, actually. And they're looking at Canada, and there's lots of things about it that they deem as good and worthy of saving. Almost like a bad relationship. You're like, oh, but can it be saved? And maybe he'll start hitting me 3 times out of the week instead of 5. It's like he's still hitting you, though. Right? But okay. And then, so that's where it's different, because with our generation, there's some of that, because maybe there's kids that are just placating to what their parents have taught them, right? So if their parents are saying, well, I just love Canada because X, Y, and Z, then maybe because we're young and impressionable, we think, oh, well, I love Canada because X, Y, and Z, right? Not realizing that you don't have any of that personal connection. You're just spouting off what your parents have said, which is, fair enough. But I think the thing for us sometimes that we have to tackle is more so of the practicals as well. And I think that that's where Maddie alluded to us focusing on the specifics of how do we benefit? Because let's face it, like when me and Maddie our family have dived into like, I guess, work on the hemispheres and the brain and such. And so when you're younger and you're kind of like stuck in that self-centered teenage mode or like young adult mode, trying to like climb up the corporate ladder and make something of yourself, and you're very self-centered in your thinking, you want things for convenience. A lot of a lot of things that are tailored to my generation would be convenience. And so that's why we try and paint it as a convenient picture, because it really is. It's like in these hypotheticals of what an independent Alberta could look like, I don't know who would say no to that. Like out of all, it's nothing but a good deal all the way through. In terms of any sort of logistics of I guess what men might think about, which is how do we protect ourselves? That's also something that me and Maddie have kind of deep dived into as well, because that's where in your podcast, on the Sean Newman podcast, listening to you guys, it was like some men get that ego or that aggressive, because I think a part of them is they know that to some degree they play a protector role and they play the role of a provider, whereas women on the other hand are a bit more of the nurturer. And so we're less so concerned about, like, we'll protect, mama bear will kick in, right? But everything else leading up to that is not us in mama bear mode, like, right? And so I think that for men, why that will come up is because they're thinking about, well, have we considered, the U.S. trying to, if we're too dependent on the U.S., and then have we considered of what, like, who's going to be trying to like take our oil if we become independent? And all of these, like, these are very logistical, like geopolitical type of questions to be asking, and they're good questions. And that's where I think personally, even I struggle in the messaging, because people who are saying, well, I'm very drawn to Canada and they have that connection with Canada, it's like, part of me wants to say, no one's saying that they want to see Canada fail when we just say that we want to leave. No one's saying that. It's almost like this is the problem. It's like a beauty and a curse when it comes to the idea of patriotism, because it's like the patriotism is the people. And so we're not saying that we hate the rest of Canadian people. Absolutely not. But it's more so like whatever we call ourselves, we're going to call ourselves Albertan, but how we want to function and how we want to behave and be as people is not the way that we are going about it, because it's not going towards what we care about. It's not that we don't care about Canada. It's that we're struggling so much to take care of ourselves that we can't take care of you. And so if we can kind of lift ourselves up, rising tides float all ships, then it doesn't matter what we call ourselves. I can still look at the rest of Canada, if we should leave in this hypothetical, and say, okay, like with any other country, you can make deals, you can have friendships, and look at them and say, you're still my brethren, regardless of what we've called ourselves. What can we do to help you, since it looks like us leaving actually has been helping us and has given us enough to actually say, I want to take care of you. And if staying in Canada was a better idea and they decide, okay, well, you just go over there and you stay in it, fine. Then if anything, it'd be like, I'd be happy for you to prove me wrong. I don't think you will, but I'd be happy for it. And if you did, then it's as simple as you look at us. It's like when two people divorce, they're not obligated to hate each other. I don't know why that's like the concept, but you are not obligated to hate each other. If anything, two divorced parents that can figure out how to make it work as for the common goal of human prosperity, or aka the child, like that child's prosperity, then you already are like miles ahead. And so that's the same thing. I would be like, all human beings at the basic fundamental level all just want human prosperity in whatever generous interpretation of what that means and what that looks like. We just aren't agreeing right now of what that looks like for Alberta and for Canada. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that when we are in the weeds of us trying to figure out what it looks like, we can't help each other and learn from each other in that process.
That is such a good point. And that's kind of the conclusion that I came to with, as I was telling you about my interaction with my two friends earlier this week, is that, and we can apply this to our fellow Albertans, those who are for Alberta independence, those who are against it, as well as to the rest of Canada. Like you have mentioned here, MayCee, that you've brought up and pointed out so beautifully, is that we are neighbors now. We are going to be neighbors after this. Yes. And we are going to need to figure this out. And no matter which way this goes, let's say that we do get a clear referendum, and that Alberta does separate from Canada and becomes independent. There are going to be people living within Alberta who are going to be very upset with that. And there are going to be people living in the rest of Canada who are going to be very upset with that. Or let's go the other way around. If we are not successful in this, same thing. There are going to be Albertans who are not happy about this. But the fact remains, we will still be neighbors. And we have to somehow figure that out. And I'm convinced, as I know Kathy is, and as it sounds like you guys might be, that it's really respectful dialogue and being able to have that conversation, that back and forth, that one is going to help us understand where the other side is coming from. And two, it may also be informative to both sides. That maybe there are things like I am perfectly open, and I wish more of my friends who were not for Alberta independence would be willing and courageous enough to have this conversation with me, because I don't think I'm mean. I try and be like, let's just have the conversation. Like, let's just talk about it, because maybe I'm missing something. And I will say to them, will you watch this video, that Kathy and I have done, and tell me what I'm missing? And most times, no, I won't even go there. And it's like, but if I'm missing something, I want to know.
Yeah. Angela's the nice one, though. I'm always like, no, you're not. She's the nice one of the two of us, for sure. One of the things that I've started saying, and Madison and MayCee, tell me what you think of this. And I just started probably about 2 weeks ago, was it occurred to me, and it seems to be resonating with the crowds that I speak in front of, that Albertans, we are trailblazers. That is just who we are. It is just in our bones. It's in our blood. It's just, give us a challenge. Tell me I can't do something. Now I'm going to have to prove to you that I can. That's just kind of how we're wired as a culture, as a people. And I just really, really see us becoming our own nation, an opportunity to blaze that trail for other provinces to be able to save themselves as well. Because now we've shown how to do it. So then if Saskatchewan wants to do it, they can, or if Newfoundland and Labrador want to do it, they can, or whoever, the people will now they'll have a map that we don't have at this point, because nobody's done it. And so by us doing this, we have that opportunity to help the rest of the Canadians to get out from under the thumb of Ottawa. And then after, we can figure out, now we're still neighbors, as we've been discussing, we're still neighbors. Now we can figure out how to work amongst ourselves as individual countries. And oh my goodness, what we are going to be able to accomplish. It'll be crazy.
I know me and MayCee are absolutely with that message. Even our dad, because our parents, my dad grew up from Winnipeg and then mom came from BC, the islands. And he said when he first got here, because he actually hitchhiked here chasing after our mom, and he saw all of the bumper stickers and the license plates, and it was Alberta Works. And he and it's that little axiom, Alberta, an idiom, I should say, because what you're describing is Alberta they are trailblazers. They work and they go and they get something and they want to get it done. And that's something that me and MayCee see, because we grew up talking to our parents, and our parents gave us their context, and then we can look around at other Albertans, and we talk a lot about with the older generation. So, but honestly, for our generation, I don't know if it's when you're so focused, as MayCee alluded to, and this is why the brain is so important to understand, especially
I know I didn't allude on
age.
that. Maddie, you can now, the left hemisphere. I mentioned, I'm like, hey, thinking back, I didn't actually get to the specifics of what I meant by that.
I think we just knew what you were saying and followed it automatically. But yeah, keep going.
I wasn't.
Yeah. When we're young, I mean, our brains don't develop till we're about age 24 to 26. And our generation takes that for granted. I think we shouldn't, especially women, because the hormones that we go through in conjunction with the brain is absolutely astronomical. And if only we understood it a little bit better, when you go through the normal depression that is life and being a woman, then you could cope with it a bit better. You don't think you're ostracized or insane. But when you are that young and your frontal lobe is developing, meaning the literal part of your brain in charge of making decisions is not yet done yet. And so making decisions is not only difficult, but you are more apt to make the wrong one because it's just where your brain is at. Things like identity, I can look at the Albertan identity. I remember talking with a friend from the UCP, and we were talking about the Albertan identity. She thought there was none. Alberta, they're not like Quebec, she said. Quebec has an identity, they have the cultural, they've been fighting the British for God knows how long. They have their language and culture. They got a way of life. Albertans, they don't. Rednecks and cowboys, nah. And I entirely disagreed because, Kathy, what you said, I've looked around and I've seen the way of life of Albertans, and they're very entrepreneurial and they want to get stuff done. And you kind of have to, too, when you got oil rigs and resources in your backyard. Yeah. But my generation and MayCee's are so focused on the identity about their personal character that they're not looking at their national identity. They're looking at, what is Madison Holmes? What am I interested in? Why am I interested in this? Do I need to? And that's where the identity politics that, gets played on. I see it even in conservatism, and they're trying to play that game intentionally to regain some of the middle ground, because they realize that the people on politically left, they really play into, well, you're trying to find out your identity? Let's give you all of these categories and potentials that can answer those really big questions for you right now. And the conservatives started to go, okay, let's try and do the same thing. Let's define what a conservative identity is.
Are you a Hufflepuff or Slytherin? Or it's like, I'm all of them.
Honestly, and kids our age love those stupid little BuzzFeed quizzes and trying to put themselves in a box, because the left hemisphere is the one that's predominantly associated with categories, parts, bits. The best analogy I can put is like, when you zoom into a picture, if you zoom in too much, all you see is pixels. That's the left hemisphere's job. It's supposed to zoom in to see the pixels, but the right hemisphere is supposed to see everything else. And so they have two very distinct jobs, but the left hemisphere is so prominent at the adolescent age. You're just trying to figure out your tiny little pixel, and you're not thinking about the national identity or the identity of your province, because you don't even know, why do I get up in the morning? And there are a lot of youth, they don't understand that. And the thing with faith is that, because you don't necessarily need to have a religion to be faithful, and that's another thing that's very skewed amongst our generation, is because they've also seen, the Catholic Church has had some dark history in its path, and then even my parents grew up Pentecostal, but it was Pentecostal in the sense of, I went to camps where they did a demonstration, and one lady was walking on a bench, and there was a gentleman on the left side and a gentleman on the right. And on the left side, the guy was playing the devil, and on the right side, the guy was playing Jesus. And so they had a girl walking down the middle, and they were both trying to coax her. Come to my side, it's better. No, he's lying. Come over here. And she said, I think I just kind of want to walk on my bench and keep going for now, if you don't mind. And then the devil guy pulled her down. And so I grew up, and a lot of watching the religious messaging saying that if you don't pick this way of religion, if you don't follow the Bible this way, if you don't follow the Quran this way, the Torah, whatever it is, then you are immediately damned. And so even the idea of faith, I think, has been completely lost, because people associate faith with dogma, especially my generation. And that's why they want to be atheists. They don't want to pick now, because they've seen the way that religion has been manipulated, to be frank. And so now I think our generation has also lost the idea of faith, because I never had an answer. Why do I get up in the morning? Because I have to. Like, I just knew that it would work out. I have to keep going. And then I had family. I had, even if, me and MayCee were fighting, I knew eventually it would work out. And that is faith. That's just trusting the process and trusting the love that I'm surrounded with, and trusting that eventually my brain will develop and figure out whatever the hell it's doing, and my bodily hormones. But I don't think kids even think about that now. The immediate lack of faith and all the foreboding that happens from the dark cloud of not being able to pay the bills, and then having the fight with the family, and then one fight with your boyfriend or your sister, and you don't know, you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. You can't see. It's just this dark, I don't know what's coming next. And I think getting a faithfulness, not just within humanity, but to re-find it within yourself, that you will get through it. Otherwise, how do you look at Alberta or Canada and think that something good is going to happen if you can't even hold faith with your own demonstration in your own body? You're like, I don't have faith that I'm going to figure it out. I don't have faith that I can pick up this really heavy weight,
That is such a good point. And wow. As Kathy has pointed out so many times, is that there is a level of faith or hope that is part of this movement. There has to be, because we're trailblazing. We don't know what's on the other side of this, right? And it's taking that one step at a time. Like, what is our focus right now? Our focus right now is the petition. And then our focus would be something else. And then our focus would be something else. But we often can't see 2 or 3 steps ahead, because we're still trailblazing this first one. And I think that, Madison, you have described that beautifully, especially for your generation, that this is what you're dealing with. And you guys are so bombarded. I mean, when Kathy and I talk about our childhood, it was simplicity. There was so much simplicity. We did not have the internet. It was Saturday morning cartoons and your cold cereal. I mean, that was the highlight of the week, right?
That's the truth.
It was being booted out of the house, during your summer holidays. You get booted out after breakfast. Don't
just
come
make
back.
sure you're home for dinner.
Exactly. Or when the street lights come on, type of thing, right? It was just a much simpler, less complicated existence than what your generation has. And so I will say, I am just so heartened to hear the two of you speak with intelligence, with intention, with thoughtfulness. Like, you have clearly been able to step away from the traps of your generation. Not anything against your generation, just the society that you are forced to grow up in, with the bombardment of information and the electronic and the digital and all that. It's very, very different challenges than what Kathy and I had.
Well, that's such a good point, because I think until this conversation, that I maybe didn't quite appreciate all the bombardment that your generation has, right? Like this overload of information that we just didn't. Like if it wasn't happening on your street, you didn't know about it, or in your community, you didn't know about it. And so I think I'm beginning to understand why maybe this younger generation, and you explained it beautifully, how the brain works, and then you throw in the hormones, whether it's male hormones or female or a lack of either, right? Like right, it complicates it even more, and then confused minds can't make a decision, so they just shut down. They just shut down, and you described that perfectly, and I thank you, because I didn't put it together until just now. That really opened up a lot of thinking for me to do now over the rest of the day, because I mean, we've got family members that are, you know, anywhere from 16 to 30 something, and some days I'm like, where did you learn this from? You know, like, what do you mean? And then I sound like, you know, the old people when I was your age, and oh, it didn't work with me, it's not going to work now. But now now I get a better understanding of where your thoughts are coming from, to be able to just sit back and go, okay, how do I formulate my words and my messaging to help the generation see what Angela and I have the benefit of seeing, because we're older and we've got that hindsight, right? Hindsight's lovely. But yeah, how do we make sure you guys don't have to hurt? Because we don't want you to. Right? We see what's coming. We see what's already happened. We see what's coming. And the mama bear in both of us, and the grandmama bear, which takes it to a whole new level, in both of us, just wants to take all you young ones and bring you in and cover you and say, no, we don't want this to happen to you. But that's not right either. We've got to let you blaze your own trail in this journey, so that we get there together. And you ladies, boy, you articulated it magnificently, just magnificently. Thank you.
I think there needs to be like more long-term thinking for our generation, because what Maddie was alerting to and what you guys are finding, even as like listening to you kind of like reflect on our generation, is very funny. And so it's just, we have a lot of just short-termness that we pay attention to, because as we were saying, it's the same thing that we realized even with the COVID crisis, that taught us a large lesson about a lot of different scenarios in life. And this bombardment concept is the fact that when you're constantly facing that bombardment, whether it's fear or just uncertainties, then your left hemisphere, as Maddie was alluding to, it's the categorization hemisphere, but it's also the one that needs answers and it needs certainty. And it's the part of the brain that has to make the decision, but it needs stasis, because in order for me to even articulate what I'm saying, I have to have something. I'm not holding everything and I'm not holding nothing. I'm holding something, and then I get specific and I start talking, right? And so with the right hemisphere, though, and as Maddie was alluding to, it comes out and it expands. And so I think that when we need, like, what we need to do is focus on the fact that when we're getting so much bombardment and so much stimulus and so much uncertainty, we are apt to make, I guess, rash decisions with a very little amount of information and think that we've come to the conclusion. And I think that that's where I think any generation can get stuck with this personally, but I think that that's where our generation can get stuck for the most part, because the problem that I'm seeing is I have friends that me and Maddie are involved on a level that not a lot of them are. And it's very isolating in some sense, because you're having a conversation about something that in my brain, I'm like, this is big picture thinking. This is going beyond your little small world. But to them, their little small world is important though. They're like, why? I just want to talk about, I don't know, how my dinner went last night with my family or my boyfriend or whatever the heck. Or I want to talk about my experience in school or just, I don't know, anything like that. And I'm like, that's fine. But it's so hard when you have I guess minds like Maddie and I, where we're trying to expand and go like, well, maybe this problem that you're facing in your school system is because of the professors and the school and who funded the schooling and where did it come from, and maybe the overlying message of, hey, why are they doing that in the first place? Maybe it's directed for some sort of divide and conquer goal. It's like, here, let me introduce death cults. Like, it's just not it's not something that it's on like my generation's brain at all. And so that's where it is difficult and it's very tricky to navigate, because I even have some friends where their parents are very politically involved, and actually I get along better with their parents than I do even them. And I'll look at them and I'll say, hey, here's some politics for you. And when people say politics, they think, oh, well, it's so corrupt, and they get really disheartened. So they want, that kind of automatically makes them want to ignore it, because they're like, it's so dirty, I just don't want to really touch it with a 10-foot pole. And like, fair enough. But Maddie and I always say that, like, you can choose to ignore politics, but politics will not ignore you. You are downstream of all the consequences that politics has on your life. Because when we talk about politics, we really need to now start defining terms of what the heck we're talking about. And we're talking about a great many of things, from like down to economics to just social behavior. It's like, that's all politics. All of that can be encompassed into one big bubble. And so it's tricky, because even the ones whose parents are involved, they're like, they agree with their parents actually on lots of things, but they're still not lifting a finger to get involved and do something. And that's because sometimes I've even heard that it's like, oh, politics is like most of my day, I just don't really want to do it, I kind of want to just focus on my own thing. And then that's where, again, like, we lose a lot of the big picture thinking of how is it that what I'm thinking, because I think this is the innate responsibility that I think actually got me and Maddie to think more deeply and more forwardly, is if I treat my own thoughts and my own ideas as part of building this culture that we're in, as part of building the society that we are living in, I take full responsibility for the fact that we have failed, or I take full responsibility for the fact that we have succeeded. So it's like, I know that even right now, as I'm talking to you guys, it's playing a role into the bigger picture of what ends up becoming Alberta, but also what ends up coming myself, MayCee Holmes. And so, and Kathy and Angela and Madison. So, and everybody watching. So it's like, that's the thing where there's just not a lot of responsibility that's being taken upon the shoulders of my generation to, like, you can have as many nice little antidotes of how to live your life, and they're all over the social media of like, here's the tiny, it's all mentalities though, and it's not physical realities. It's like, okay, great, you know, you have this cute little slogan in your head, but you have no idea how to actually apply it and actually think, okay, what could I change today in my existence that would be beneficial? And then there are some who get influenced by said influencers, and then they decide to, I don't know, eat healthier, exercise, all that fun jazz, right? But they don't take it a step further and then kind of think, well, I'm healthy and I'm good, so no problem there. It's like, well, the knowledge that you learned, you could teach it to somebody else to make them a little bit better, right? And then you could be looking at your meal and going like, man, this is really expensive. I wonder why. It's like just a tiny, tiny, tiny step. It's like incremental progress in thinking, essentially. It's like, why are things the way that they are? And why are there difficulties in general? And if anything, that's something that my generation, especially with like even the transgender movement that came forward and all of that, it's like, that's something that we do well. And I actually think if we were placating to it correctly, we would see some fruit come of it. It's almost like a hidden blessing that you didn't in disguise, because what I think we found, and with the sort of rebelliousness that you guys are talking about, with, I guess, the younger generation that can kind of look at older people and kind of go like, oh, you're not listening to what I have to say. You're just you're basically dogmatic and ideologically possessed, like, and then slough you off. And then, as Kathy, you were saying, it's like, then great, now I sound like the old person that I thought of when I was younger, right? And that's a generational thing, doesn't matter what kind. But I think that the thing is that when we my generation has that ability to start getting nitpicky and start going like, well, I saw this thing online. We get stuck in theoreticals more than experience. And don't get me wrong, theoreticals are important, because to us, at least in my own experience, when I've gotten caught in my own theoreticals without really living the experience yet of like proving it, part of me goes like, well, I first need to build a roadmap, and then I'm going to trailblaze, right? So I'm a bit more like, I'd like to build the roadmap, take a look and see. And so that's my theoretical. And so it's me saying, if I do this, I think it will produce this result, and I want to see. And the problem sometimes that I hit a wall against, and I've even hit it in my own family with my parents, is they'll be like, well, you just don't have the experience, and you're not keeping in context that this, and this could happen, right? Because it happened to them. And then that's when we look at them and go like, well, am I obligated to live exactly the circumstances that you have lived in order for me to learn the lesson? Or can you accept the fact that I'm that person that, like Maddie's describing, standing in the middle, and I'm making my experience real time right now the same as you are, and I have a choice in that. And so it's just a living, breathing process. And then that's the thing that I think those generations or any person has to navigate, is how do I try and figure out how to build my experience, not just not just on my theoreticals, also on my experience as well. And that's where I'd say, like, I wish my generation would look at the older generation a bit more and go like, okay, hold on. I need to listen to them the exact same way I'm praying and hoping they'll listen to me. It's like that's what we have to do with each other. Because going back to that label thing that I was mentioning in the beginning, it's like it doesn't matter what we call ourselves. It's like what Angela's saying, we're neighbors regardless. Well, we are family regardless. Like, we're human beings. So if anything, I always kind of go like, if there's one thing that we can count on, is we have each other. Like no matter where you go, there people are, right? So we have that like in common, whether you like it or not, right? Yeah. So we have to figure out how to navigate that. And then I guess, I mean, like, I don't want to like off trail too much about that, but I guess we're going to, trailblaze some more. It was something that's been on my mind for this independence thing specifically, to kind of tie back into that, is with the idea of like, I like what you guys were saying, where sometimes it's a bit of like one step at a time. And so even with this referendum, right, that's where we're going towards first. And then hopefully that will go towards negotiations. Some people are voting for that referendum specifically for the negotiations, not necessarily because they want to leave Canada. Like, actually, not because they want to become an independent nation. They're actually just using it as a point of leverage to the Canadian government and saying, okay, I signed this thing, so you better put a better deal on the table or else. They're kind of wishy-washy on that or else. They still are like, please put down a better deal. And a part of me, like, I kind of wanted to speak to that, because like again, this is the hard part of like, and you guys know this, of doing the research, is like, I'm more concerned about the powers that be, and I would specifically allude to like the British Empire, for example, because they've had a longer history of, I guess, screwing us over, and screwing over a lot of different countries with like neocolonialism. I'm more concerned of, if we decide that, okay, it's just because we want a better deal, and let's say that we get the better deal. Let's say they do give us something like the pipeline, or they do give us more of a say over our immigration, something a bit more akin to what Quebec has. And let's say hypothetically, in this beautiful hypothetical, they give us that. And then we're like, okay, there's another point in time where the federal government, Ottawa, is like, okay, we want to introduce something that you're not going to like at all. And then we have to play this game again where we have to get all of these people. And like, it's almost like I feel like it's asking a lot for people to have to keep playing that game, instead of just us having our own sovereignty and go like, well, why can't we just make the decisions we want to make? You know what I mean? And so I feel like that's where, when I'm trying to answer that question, it's I have to deviate a little less so from even the bigger picture of the factual sometimes, because for me, I'm like, the idea of potentially like technocracy and Alberta being the central hub for AI data centers is actually still on the back of our brains, I think. Yep. And so that's one of those things where, even if we were staying, let's say we get the better deal, we stay in Canada, and actually things are going peachy because we, showed this show of force and this threat, it's like, I don't know who benefits from this better deal still. On the face value, it looks like Albertans are getting a pipeline. Albertans are getting what it is that they want. They get to control their immigration. If we get to control our immigration, we get more people that actually can work instead of the opposite, and we get wealthier and blah, 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 blah. But who is benefiting from this wealth? Who's coming in as well on kind of like sucking us out from behind? And that's the part where I feel like that I don't want that to be at the back of our brains. Of course, it's going to be. And I think that that's actually the thing that I would encourage most people to pay attention to, is that will always be the case. Independence, not independence. So we need to pay attention to that. And like I was alluding to before, the only difference is like having it basically be your own say, and then having it where you have these great many of minds that are just, you know, in Alberta, we became our own independent country, and we're like, okay, we're working for us now. What does that look like? And I feel like if anything, it's even a little less strenuous than trying to figure out what do we look like in conjunction with this leech on our back.
Yeah. I feel like Madison, like maybe like I'm trying to think like what would be like an overarching like word or phrase to kind of tie this all together. And the idea of responsibility, personal responsibility, keeps coming back to me, where like you guys have been a wonderful example of taking personal responsibility for yourself, for the amount of knowledge that you have on these topics and how you're going to apply it, you know, to your individual life, but also into the society that you live in. And that's probably actually a really good place to kind of wrap this up, is that this is what we need for all generations. And you have really clearly pointed out some of the struggles and the issues that your particular generation is up against when it comes to responsibility and taking that initiative to look after yourself and what you know to be true. But it's the same thing for all generations, kind of like what I pointed out with my two friends this week that just don't even want to go there, right? And I think that you guys are just absolutely wonderful example to your peers that you can do this, that you can kind of step out of the craziness and into that realm of taking personal responsibility and getting that knowledge. Kathy, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
I'm just taking notes, literally. Literally. I was like,
oh my God.
I really am. I just, the one thing that you guys said that resonated, gals, sorry, whatever.
Oh my gosh, you misgendered me.
Wow.
I know. I was at this one, I'll pop in a quick story. I was at this one hall. It was in very, very rural Alberta. It was beautiful. That's like, I'm a rural Alberta girl, so the fewer sidewalks, the better. That is my people. And so I was at this one hall, and it had 3 washrooms. One was men's, one was women's, one was both. Like typically maybe we had the change table or whatever back in the day. So then rather than deal with all of this stuff, they just printed off a sign that said, "We don't care, just wash your hands."
That's awesome.
That's cool. That's cool. I loved it. Leave it to rural Alberta. What you guys were saying, that focus on identity, and specifically your personal identity, as a generation, is real, like that jumped. I don't know why. I have to parse that out a little bit more, but that really jumped out. And I think that maybe ties into what you were saying, Angela, about that personal responsibility. So your personal identity ties in with that personal responsibility. And then how do we grow that into like a responsibility communally, as a country, as a community, as like a bigger than just the blinders. Like, I just want to look after myself, and I don't know how, and everything is drowning, and I don't know what to do. And that's I've been in that place where you're hungry and you're homeless and like literally, and you don't know, and you don't care what's going on around you. You're just trying to figure out how to make it through that day. And it's like your generation has been thrown into that, but then all of this bombardment on who are you, what sets you apart from the rest of the world? What is your personal identity? How do you make sure the world sees you? And we want to see you, absolutely, but at the same time, I think I just have a new level of pity for you, actually. Like, what an awful, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but the mom in me is coming out going,
It's
what did we
compassion.
do to you? What did we do to you? Like, oh yeah, like what a challenge to try and figure out who you've been told that you can be whoever you want to be, but no, you can't, because the world's not going to let you, but strive to be it anyways and just rebel against the world. But at the same time, you've got to live in the world, and then you've got your brain trying to also figure all of this out while it's still developing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those of us that have, we went through all of that, obviously we went through all of those stages, but the world just was so different at that time that we're going to have to sit back. Angela and I love to focus on, like, how do we get this message across in a way that other people will understand? And I really, really want to thank you ladies for teaching us something today to be able to take out and with the home meetings that we're doing, or the presentations that I'm doing next week. Now I've got some new content thanks to you that I can bring to those presentations and to those meetings and to those conversations to speak to the younger ones that quite frankly, I've watched them walk out when I'm speaking, and I thought, oh, they must just have something to do. And now I'm like, no, that was me. They walked out because of what I was saying. And so now I just thank you that I have an opportunity to rectify that. So bless you both for that. Really, I mean that.
Thank you both for the opportunity. And it's something that actually both of you said at the very beginning of this interview. And it's there have been so many young, especially young men, but just young people generally, where the older generations will say, well, back in my day. And the thing is, so many young people hate that, and this big gap between the generations is starting to form, but it's not even necessarily against Gen X, it's against the system itself, because back in your day, a mailman could sustain his family.
Yes.
And now today, you need 3 jobs within the whole house minimum to sustain a family. Like, people can't buy brand new cars, let alone a house, and then all of those drives and things. So that disdain, and that's another thing why this independence thing, I mean, simple numbers like getting 1,400 or back in your 14,000 back in savings. It's like, ask a young person, what would you do with $14,000? It's like, whoa, that's an option. It's like, they didn't think that was an option. It's like, well, it can be if we get independence. Then we could make your tuition easier. Then we could make your cost of living easier. Just give you more potential. Because right now, young people, like, you guys had all the potential in the world back in the day, because the cost of living, there wasn't so many money printing. There wasn't so many. They're like, I feel like I have no potential. So that's what Alberta Independence to me is. It's potential to grow.
Yeah, Maddie's story that she's alluding to, it was a guy on the work site who actually did, like, our brother's friend, and one of the guys said, well, back in my day, it was like, it was easier to be able to afford things and stuff, so I had a family at your age, and and he was kind of going off, and the guy just said, he was like, dude, if you put me back in your time, as hard as I work, I would have made double what you made. Like, he looked like, this young guy looked at this older gentleman, was like, no, I work my ass off, and I know I would have succeeded you back in your day. But I think that the takeaway from this is then you have a choice to go back to that day. Then you actually do have that choice with Alberta Independence. I feel like now you actually can, your money could go further, and you get more of it. And so now you don't no longer have to resent the fact that you would have been making double. You could very well make that the reality, I think.
Such a good point.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Well,
ladies,
thank you so much, ladies. Very much.
You. Let me adopt you. This is good. I don't have girls. I only have boys.
Aww. Sure.
So okay. If your mom and dad will share, I would be.
We'll make them share.
There you go. Well, And you know
Let's
what?
do it
I
again.
would love, like, as Kathy and I are going around the province or whatever, to have you guys join us sometime in one of our meetings or what have you.
Ooh,
that would
that'd
be
be
so
good.
fun. That
That
would
would
Yeah,
be
sure.
so amazing.
Let's
So
do
we
it.
will definitely remain in touch, and
A girls' road trip. Let's do it.
Absolutely.
love it. Oh, it'd be so fun. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank
Very
you.
much appreciate it. All right, Kathy.
Oh my goodness. Again, why do you do this to me? You bring on these amazing people, and then I just sit here and I'm the talker, and I'm just like, I got nothing to say. I just want to take it all in.
They're amazing. They are amazing.
are.
And just like the shining light in the whole thing.
And
The whole
so
thing.
timely, right? Because
Yes.
I'm doing another tour next week with Jason Levine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not using my PowerPoint presentation like I was before. He's asking me to do something completely different. Same type of message, but something a little bit different. And now this conversation, I think, just shaped what that different could be.
Awesome.
So I was going to clean the house, but now I guess I get to plan a speech.
I love it.
That's to be me. Yeah. And happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
beautiful.
you.
I love you. I'm so glad that
you.
the Lord had our paths cross
Oh my goodness. Kathy, I'm grateful for that every day. And you know what? The fact that we just get to cross paths with so many amazing Albertans. What a blessing. Oh, make me do this all day long.
Okay. I have to.
Right? Oh, that's
Yeah.
so rough. Anyway.
Cool. Well, we'll figure out who we're bringing on next week. I don't know who that
We
is
will.
yet.
We will.
Cool.
And I sure love you too. It's awesome to do this together.
We'll do it again.
All right. Take care.